In demonstration 5, we will sketch and extrude a shape with an angled face and a hole which is part of the original profile sketch. In sketch mode, we'll use the line and circle commands. We'll also use the equals constraint. We'll use various dimensions applied as required, and we'll use the coincident constraint before finally in 3D solid mode extruding the profile with the additional step required here of selecting the profile from a number of different choices. Start the process by opening a new part file using the standard millimeter IPT template file from inside the metric templates folder. Start a 2D sketch and select one of the origin planes in order to put that sketch on. We'll use the line draw command and the automatic constraints that are offered in order to draw the basic outline that we require. Not worrying too much about particular dimensions, but getting the proportion of the sketch roughly in place means that we'll be able to then add our first dimension, which is 45 millimeters, and that will scale up the entire sketch and keep it in proportion. We'll then continue to add dimensions, and then these top two lines here in the exercise you'll see both need to be 10 millimeters long. So if I add a dimension to one of 10 millimeters but then use the equals constraint, it means that the two lines that are selected will then always be equal in length. So because one is forced by a dimension to be 10 millimeters long, then the other one must be also. The equals constraint can also be applied to the diameters and radiuses of arcs and circles. Now that we've done that one, we also need an angular dimension, and by selecting first one line and then the other, if they are not parallel to each other, it will then automatically give you an angular dimension. We input the required value there, and we see that all that we have required left to do now is to add two dimensions to this particular sketch. Now I've deliberately left the circle feature that's going on here until towards the end of the process. So at this point I'll use the coincident constraint to constrain the object back to the origin point, which means that the sketch so far is fully constrained. But now I'll add the circle feature by using the circle command. Pick a center point, making sure it's not automatically aligned, and if a dimension is highlighted in blue, as that one is on the screen at the moment, if we type in the desired value for the object and then hit enter, it will automatically add a dimension. This can also be done to lines and other objects. We now need to use dimensions in order to get the center point of our circle into the right position. So 20 millimeters from the right hand side, and then selecting the bottom line and then the center point of the circle, 15 millimeters from the bottom. This is now our fully constrained sketch, and in order to finish this we'll need to go to our 3D solid mode. By finishing the sketch, we'll extrude, and you'll notice that this time it hasn't automatically selected the profile. That's because there's actually a number of different profiles here that it can choose from. So as soon as we go into the extrude mode, it will actually be asking us to select the profile. So click the profile that's required. It will then give us a preview. We can then input the distance that the extrusion is to be, which is 25 millimeters, and then hit enter. And that completes the creation of this particular form.